Looking for a college where you can learn by doing? The University of Northwestern Ohio puts the wrench in your hand and your future in motion.
I would recommend UNOH to anybody who wants to excel in this industry.
With industry connections, cutting-edge equipment, and programs in automotive, diesel, high performance, robotics, and more, this is education that works.
You will come to this school and you will leave 10 times what you were when you came here.
Apply now at unoh.edu.
The sun hangs over the French countryside, the engines fire to life, and one final chapter is ready to be written. For the legendary Circuit de la Sarthe, welcome to the Loire 100, the final race of the season for the Collegiate Sportscar Challenge. Tonight, 100 minutes will decide 2 championships. So glad you could join us here on Green Flag TV. Marty Sakala with you alongside Fennicini with Howie Burrows working in mission control. And Fen, there is no better place for a title fight than Le Mans. Strategy, traffic, pressure. The track will test it all, and both championships, they're still wide open.
They certainly are. Plenty to play for in this closing round. A perfect hour and 40 minutes. We get that great endurance racing feel as we take a look at these championships and see what these drivers have to play for in the closing stage.
Yeah, the math is simple. Jake Cummings leads Jonathan Nicasio by just 4 points. And the math is very simple. If they're both inside the top 4, it's winner take all between them.
Fantastic run there. I think the same is pretty similarly true in the GT3 field as well.
Yeah, a little more breathing room, but no room for Eric. Connor Burns leads James Bowman by 12 points. Burns controls his destiny, finishes second or better, and the title is his.
The rest of this field also battling for positions as well to secure a couple other spots in the top 5 there. So I think it's going to make for a busy track this evening.
If Burns possibly slips to third, though, something to keep in mind, it can be really simple. Bowman has to win. No strategy, no math beyond that. Go out, take the victory, and steal the championship on the final night. Let's talk about this racetrack here, Fan. Circuit de la Sarthe, one of the longest racetracks. In fact, the longest racetrack we go to all season. iRacing records it at 8.47 miles with 38 corners around the track. About 85% of the time, you were running full throttle here, and so this place will really test your engine.
Certainly will. Test the engine, test the endurance of all these machines, as well as the drivers, because there are a good number of corners. I think statistically, only more corners on this track is going to be on the Nürburgring, that Nordschleife layout, for the number of them. A good way to keep an eye on things and make sure you don't get lost down the long run down to Indianapolis corner, amongst many other things. Going to be a busy one.
Drivers getting set to warm up here. We've got 5 GTP cars, the rest of them GT3. A nice car count. We'll take a look at the starting lineup for tonight and look at that front row. Your top 2 in the championship. Jonathan Nicasio with a 324, 455, 1.3 seconds better than Jake Cummings. So Kentucky, Converse Nation, we'll see if one of your drivers can win the championship in GTP tonight. Behind them, row 2, Christian Hill from Mount St. Mary's in the 085. Next to him, Nathaniel Fryman in the Ball State, number 2. And the final car on the grid for GTP, Thomas Crump in the Clemson 016.
And for GT3, we're going to look at James Bowman from University of Kentucky, one of the drivers we're talking about having their hat in the ring for the GT3 championship. Going to be alongside Pierce Hanley of Auburn University for row number 1 on the grid. Evan Main going to lead off from Minnesota State alongside Caleb Larson, also from Minnesota State. Both those drivers going to be battling it out to see who's the better Minnesota State University driver. 5th is going to be the likes of Andrew Gross from Texas A&M, with Ethan Roth and from Auburn University in 6th. 7th is going to be the likes of Colin Bergeson from Minnesota State University as well. Andrew Voigt alongside him for Pennsylvania State University in 8th. 9th is going to be the likes of Arpi Kovacs from John Brown University. Owen Kizak from New England College going to join him for the top 10. And 11th is going to be Philip Solk from Minnesota State as well. Hunter Wise from Ball State in 12th. From there, 13th is going to be Nolan Thiebert from St. Clair College, with Connor Burns going to be on the outside there. A slow start for him. See if he has what he can pick up over the course of this season, or this race. Chase Garrard from Wichita State University Tech in 15th, with Roger Primo from Paul Smith's College in 16th. 17th is going to be Nate Smith alongside Jonathan Dallaire. Both of those last two drivers, I believe, having some pre-race penalties being applied.
Yeah, let's give you those penalties here while we are at it. Car 40 driven by Dallaire has a pit lane start for accumulating strikes on the season, but also Roger Primo in the 88 has been DQ'd, did not meet the 105% threshold of pole time in practice, qualifying, or warm-up. There is a minimum speed rule you do have to meet in the preliminary sessions in order to have your right to race. If race control deems you're slow enough that you did not meet that 105% threshold, you will be disqualified. You will not be allowed to take the green flag.
It's a bit of a heartbreaker there, I think, for that number 88 driver, as gridding is complete, and I think we're going to get underway for a shortened safety lap, working our way through the Porsche curves to start out, and a little bit of time, still a decent chunk of time to warm up the tires. Not as much as the first full lap. We'll see these drivers finish doing that once they get under green flag conditions here in a little while.
Yeah, nobody wants to have a 5-minute or 6-minute warm-up lap before we take the green flag.
Yeah, certainly.
So anyway, we talked about the point standings. We talked about the starting lineup, some of the penalties. Your keys to victory tonight on both sides.
Talking about the GTP side, it's going to be managing that multi-class traffic. Only 5 GTP drivers, so consistency and lap time will be your biggest fans there, along with managing that multi-class traffic. From the GT3 side, being able to use multi-class traffic to your advantage, as well as keeping up with the cars around you. The draft a little more applicable for those cars with these long straights, like you said, 85% of that lap on full throttle. Getting to utilize the draft to stick with your opponents and keep moving in the right direction will also be a huge benefit for the GT3 field. Specifically interested to see how much Connor Burns is able to reclaim a pretty slow qualifying session into a solid victory for the championship in an hour and 40 minutes time. Plenty of opportunity as well for pit strategy. So I think keeping yourself out of pit lane is going to be a huge win as well for both these classes.
Field is making their way through. They're in the final sector of the racetrack, going through the Porsche curves, the key areas of this facility where it's all about hanging on as well while trying to send it through the corners. It is championship night for the Collegiate iRacing League Collegiate Sportscar Challenge. We've been looking forward to this night for a very long time. 100 minutes around the legendary Circuit de la Sarthe. They'll make their way through the Ford chicane into the Recorderman corner. Field starting to get, the GTP field starting to get 2 by 2 as we say, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? The horns flare, it's showtime in Le Mans. The Loire 100 is green, and immediately Jonathan Ocasio gets a great start, but look at Christian Hill, our buddy, in the Porsche 085, going for the race lead here at the moment as they set themselves up into the Dunlop curves. Risky place to try and make a pass here early. Can Hill get it? He goes off the track for a moment. Ocasio takes the lead. He almost goes wide. Ocasio clears over Hill. Side by side for the third position as they set themselves up through the S's. Cummings and Fryman go at it. The GT3s come to the green flag. Meanwhile, we're underway. They start their flag out 3 wide as they approach the Dunlop corners. Pierce Hanley comes through to the race lead. They're 4 abreast going to the turn number 1. Who's forced to left the first time? Near contact. Oh, there is contact. 1 car gets sideways on 2 of them, 3 of them. The 79 gets involved as well. That being Owen Kizak. 1 car has lost a rear bumper. That being, I believe, that was Bowman in the 32. Yes, it was James Bowman, the GT3 championship contender, in big trouble early here, Fen.
Yeah, certainly a big moment there. Having the 4 wide, it was never going to end up quite the way we wanted to. We also saw the likes of one of the drivers who started from pit lane get a pretty good launch as a result. Meanwhile, the GTP standings, pretty much with the exception of Christian Hill getting around Jake Cummings, as we saw them take to the green flag here a moment ago, all of them still keeping up with each other. Nathaniel Fryman getting a great run here from the first chicane of the Le Mans Straight Daytona. if you want to give it a name. Going up towards Michelin, the second of these two that you work your way through down the long Mulsanne Straight.
You reach a top speed of 200 miles an hour in the GTP cars. The final part of the Mulsanne Straight before entering its legendary right-hand corner, where you reach top speed, and immediately you have to jam on the brakes. You're hearing Kajzak went into the pits. How about this, meanwhile, as they make the right-hander? We go back to the GT3 class. Hanley with the advantage for right now, but both of your GT3 drivers battling for the championship. I don't know if Burns was involved in it, but we know Bowman was.
Burns was not, so Burns ends up only being about, I think, 5 or so seconds ahead of James Bowman at the end of this, as he had a slow pit start, stayed out of the, slow start after qualifying, stayed out of trouble there, as we see a black flag for the likes of Philip Sulk in the GT3 category for failing to serve a slowdown penalty. But meanwhile, this battle in GTP, continuing as it was.
So they make their way past Indianapolis and Arnage. Now they approach the Porsche corners. Christian Hill getting a nice slipstream off of Ocasio. Does he take a peek to the right? Yes, he does. For the race lead in GTP. Advantage to Hill in the Porsche 085, but Ocasio drives in deep into the right-hander. Hill still trying to fight back, but he can't. Ocasio hanging on for right now.
Yeah, it's a hard spot to go too wide there on either side. Whoever has kind of the nose in initially and can keep the speed through it seems to go much more the advantage of Ocasio. I wonder.
New leader, meanwhile, in GT3. That's coming out of Indianapolis, approaching Arnage. It's Voigt now out in front in his Porsche, making the pass on Pierce Hanley.
3/10 between these two drivers. I get the feeling if we see the opportunity to, kind of praise itself for Pierce Hanley, we'll see him probably try to take that spot back here in just a moment.
Voigt's starting to open up that gap just a little bit, approaching the Porsche corners.
Slow run for him through there, though.
Been told, by the way, the lap 1 incident between Bowman and the 70 of Evan Main was deemed a racing incident. No further action. And here is a look at what happened at the GT3 start, approaching the Dunlop curves. Look at this, full wide, lap 1, turn 1, and there's the contact that started all. Take a look at Bowman here, trying to keep things going. I don't know if he suffered any damage in all of that. I think it was Kajzak that took the brunt end of it, and it was.
Yeah, Kajzak's getting the brunt end of it. James Bowman gonna have a little bit of fender damage, but nothing that shouldn't cost him a lot of time there, especially as he's slowly catching up the tail end of that GT3 grid to work back into the fight with Connor Burns for the lead of this championship in the closing stages. I think it should make for a very busy hour and 40 minutes for those two drivers.
And then that was a big set approaching the Indianapolis corner for Voigt in his Porsche to take the lead. And we're back to live pictures here, watching your top two. Car length and a half separate them both.
Yeah, they're about to get to Tetra Rouge and start their way down the long Mulsanne Straight. Both drivers keeping it tidy.
Now, we should mention as well here with how Connor Burns and James Bowman are performing early. Pierce Hanley in that Aston Martin running second. He is third in the points coming on into the day. I think if I'm doing my math here correctly, I think that was 292, 82, 72, 62, 52, just over 65 points back. There's no chance that Hanley will be able to catch up on the top two, no matter how they perform on the day, even with the car count that we have of 18 GT3s here tonight. Meanwhile, back to third, Christian Hill's lost some time. I don't know what happened to the Porsche earlier on, but Thomas Crump is attacking here, entering Indianapolis. Big defense from Hill and his Porsche.
Other way around, Hill kind of get that spot back after having a moment in Arnage, sees him going to make a lunge into Indianapolis, like you were saying, but then has to defend from it here now, coming down the backstretch as we dive over to that lead in GT3, as Andrew Voigt having a couple of connection issues for a brief moment, sees this 2/10 gap remain as it is.
going to take a brief look on my end to see what caused Hill to lose all that track position.
And off track into the Mulsanne corner at the end of the straight.
And yes, you are correct. I just watched the back. He did catch the gravel and allowed Jake Cummins to get through. So your championship contenders, 1-2, battling for it all. Winner take all, the GTP title class. Still watching the race for the lead here in GT3. They are approaching Indianapolis. Again, Voigt in the Porsche, Hanley in the Aston. Evan Main back there in third, racing with Caleb Larson for the spot.
Absolutely. Keep an update on the battles for the leads in class as well as the championship battles. Connor Burns also having the similar out of Chris Hill, having too much runoff into Mulsanne corner, sees James Bowman get back around him for that lead in the championship. A lot of battles still yet to be decided in this GT3 field up and down the order, such as one we're seeing at the front end here, but also that battle for third with Evan Main and Caleb Larson not even remotely decided yet.
Yes, that is a great point you brought up on Connor Burns. Burns, same thing Hill kind of did going into Mulsanne and just lost too much of it. So James Bowman back out in front and has the championship lead still in the number 32 Ferrari. He is 10th in class. Connor Burns currently running in 14th, but still watching the race for the class lead through the Porsche curves, approaching the karting curves.
Yeah, these ones such a fun, but difficult section to really nail, especially in the GT3. We have a little bit less time. Pierce Hanley letting Andrew Voigt know that he is right behind and he wants to get by to keep up the momentum here. See if he can't at least close down that gap and maintain his third spot in that championship, if nothing else.
Was flashing the headlights entering the Ford chicane, but did not have the gap to try and make a move. Now remains to half a car length. 2 laps are complete for the GT3 category. Evan Main starting to approach both of them. Was 2 seconds faster that last time by compared to the front two. On board here with Hanley.
Hanley still trying to find that last bit of gap. 2/10 still separate these two drivers. Having to pick the battles very carefully. It's such an easy track to go for over-unders because of how wide the nature of it is. You get one good battle into one corner, and then they are able to return the favor in a next corner. So you see a lot of lunges down into the Ford chicanes, but then you also see a couple passes in turn one as they get back into the Dunlop curves, where they are equally return the favor in terms of passing and get passed back for that position, and right back where they started by the time they go down the Mulsanne straight.
Did you notice, by the way, Fen, in the Dunlap curbs, the left-hander just before you approach, I think it was just before you approached the bridge, you notice all the gravel, all the marbles that were there from the crash on lap 1 for the GT3s? Drivers are going to want to avoid that one. They're going to have to completely avoid that or else it could lead to trouble.
You just have to be very careful as well. Even kind of the parts that you see it, sometimes you don't always see some of the other dirt. You'll see that flag. That's one of the nice things about the updates recently. Able to get a yellow and red flag that'll let you know that there's debris on the course. So you have that heads up to work in your favor. Evan Main now getting a fantastic run out of the Daytona chicane. First of the two on the Mulsanne straight. And see him just hanging out behind Pierce Hanley as they get their way into Michelin.
Big draft for the McLaren coming, but he just can't close in. Gap about a car length. 186 to 183 approach in the Michelin chicane that time by. But they're all running very solid, smooth, executing very well, going through the back straight of Circuit de la Sarthe. Back up near the front here in GTP. Battle for 4th in class. That's Fryman in the Wheeling car. Crump in the Clemson ride.
Yeah,
Big fight back though. Fryman can't get that to work. Go ahead, Fen.
No, you're good. I was right there about to say something similar. We saw him have a moment, much like we saw Chris Hill, which is how he ends up in 5th behind Thomas Crump, now trying to find the way around. We're going to see him go the long way into turn number 1 and into this Dunlop chicane just before the bridge. Got to see if he can make the pass around the outside. We're doing all that gravel we just talked about. Going to hold on to it.
Through the marbles. That was bold from Fryman. He clears his way through. Back up into the 4th spot while Crump had some neck code issues starting to blink. And Fryman's now trying to run away with it, but back up near the front. GT3 race for the lead still on between Voigt and Hanley. Shallow entry into Indianapolis by Hanley. Voigt catches a little bit of the gravel. This allows Main to close it a little bit once again. This is a great triple threat match for the race lead here in GT3 in the Loire 100.
It certainly is. These three drivers, I think, going to give us a bit of a show that'll probably
We got
last
trouble,
from
by the
now.
way, here as well.
Yes.
Trouble in, I believe, Indianapolis. We've lost Arpad Kovacs in the Porsche who went around. We'll see if we get a replay. Here it is with the number 24.
Not enough brake early. We'll still show this here as he has to overcorrect to not run into the likes of Andrew Goss in that Texas A&M machine and just loses control of that car and nowhere to put that car and become a passenger really quick. Easy to do in the Porsche.
And that could be a situation where he was braking while cornering at the same time, and Kovacs is just trying to limp his car back to the pits, and his chances of a win without question are over. This is the race for the lead. Hanley's got a run approaching Ford. Tries the over-under this time. Forced to lift early. Now we're approaching the Recordman final corner. This three-car race for the lead still on. Voigt trying to defend.
Yeah, Voigt just really making that car as wide as possible going into those Ford chicanes. And got to be able to manage that battle
Main
there.
nearly with a bumper to Hanley at the same time.
Yeah, that's going to make for a bit of an interesting change as this battle for the podium really taking off. And I think Caleb Larson pretty comfortable trying to play a fuel game and maybe wait for one of these cars to have an incident.
Yeah, Larson may be in a safer position compared to anyone in the top three. Right now, we're about 2 seconds back of the leader, and Main tries to make the move. Issue is he does not have the draft approaching the Mulsanne straight for the fourth time in this race, but now tries to get the side draft. Won't have the preferred corner approaching Daytona. We'll see what happens, but Hanley able to get the clear on Main thanks to the slipstream of Voigt. Now looks to the outside, tries the slingshot here into the right-hander. Door to door for the race lead. Is it Hanley's time to take it back? They nearly come to blows. Voigt hangs on for right now.
He's going to have to left out to allow that through, and then Evan Main going to have an easier time of it, just kind of being a little more patient. And this is just allowing that gap to close down as Andrew Voigt just playing the defensive line into each one of these chicanes. We saw him do it earlier with Pierce Hanley. Now he has to do it with Evan Main as they come into Michelin.
Hanley and Larson the race for second. Highest spot that Main has been in this race, and Hanley just lets him take it.
Yeah, not a huge, I think, opportunity there for him to do, especially given that it's too wide. You also want to make sure you survive another hour and 20, hour and 29 minutes. Excuse me.
During that, this was a pass for fourth in GTP. Crump and Fryman, this has been the best battle we've been really watching for the last 2 laps or so in this class.
Seeing this battle trade hands a handful of times at this point.
Ooh,
Really
Fryman.
wide.
Got really wide coming out of the Arnage corner. Again, all eyes on some other battles happening. Haven't talked about this one just yet. Andrew Gross, Colin Bergeron, pair of BMWs, battling for 5th position at the moment.
Not to be discounted out of that. I think if we see them continue fighting as they were, because
Got a car off, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you. We got a
you're
car
good.
stopped approaching Indianapolis. Was Chase Girard in the BMW, who completely blew into the tire barriers. Look at what happened to the Wichita State car.
misses the brake marker. Holy. Yeah, just a snap oversteer as well from trying to get that car to work. Hard into the barrier at Mulsanne.
If you ever try to overcorrect it at Le Mans will bite you back.
It certainly will.
This is back near the front. Main closest he's been to Voigt. Thought about looking there at the Porsche curves. Approaching the straight near Ford. Voigt able to clear Main for right now as the gap at about a car length and a half into the left-hander. But now look at this as well here. How about this, Fen? Larson approaching the top three, 1.5 seconds back.
Yeah, this battling between these three drivers has really allowed Caleb Larson to slowly but surely close into this group. And again, I think just paying it a little patiently, doesn't really want to be too close. So in case sparks fly, he's able to get clear of it and not get wrapped up in an incident. But that gap keep closing by a few tenths, especially in these slower sections where all these cars are almost kind of holding each other up in the process.
Great start to this one by all the drivers here. Meanwhile, Jonathan Ocasio, your leader still in GTP, up about 2 seconds on its championship adversary, Jake Cummings. There's Christian Hill in third spot. You see the leaders are in some GT3 traffic. These are just some of the drivers that may have gone off track earlier or may have been even involved in a wreck. Jake Cummings already stopping on pit road. This is an interesting strategy. While he's stopping, let's talk about pit strategy here. Chase Gerard also pitting, one of the GT3 drivers.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that had issues, so that makes sense.
You know, the key here at Le Mans is to execute the fewest, cleanest stops possible with perfect timing. In a 100 race event, a one-stop race can be ideal, but if it's 2 stops if you're trying to push it really hard in this race.
Yeah, especially given the nature of the fuel capacity limitations for these cars. I guess thought process will likely see a 2-stopper out of the whole field over the course of this race. I don't think it's quite fast enough to where you'll need a 3rd stop, maybe for the GTPs, the Splash and Dash, and maybe that's what Jake Cummings is working on. It's kind of an inverted option in there to do the early stop or that kind of quick stop first to get himself kind of a little more breathing room to not be dealing with traffic as easily or as quickly as he'll see the likes of Jonathan Ocasio allow it to spread out more itself.
So a fuel window with the GTPs, just about 8 to 10 laps when you have the 75% fuel window that CIL applies. So you're looking at about 28, 35 minutes. The undercut, it's not as straightforward as a short track or even somewhere like Spa where we were at most recently. Here's how the undercut can work and how it can't work at times. A lap is 3.5 minutes, so one strong out lap can equal a big gain at times, and then the fresh tires means you can have better braking into the chicanes and stronger traction out of the slow zones. And if the car ahead is hitting GT traffic, huge opportunity. Why it often doesn't work, here's the killer. You can lose more in traffic than you gain on fresh tires, because number one, pit lane time loss is massive. Tires don't always switch on instantly, and then if you rejoin in traffic, that undercut can be dead immediately.
Certainly. I mean, anytime we've seen these drivers, they've all been weaving their tires. So no opportunity for those drivers to have it switch on instantaneously. But they'll have to work with it, get the tires up temperature. We did see Jay Cummings get onto the jacks, meaning he got at least a set of tires, whether it's a full set or a partial set. We'll have to see, or give a conversation with him at the end if he ends up really playing the strategy well. Plenty of opportunities, though, and we'll have to see who chooses the better strategy in terms of pit strategy, as well as how that impacts their navigation of multi-class traffic.
He did approach Philippe Sulkin and Aston Martin, but I'm surprised as well at the same time he's not even trying to weave his tires, just warm them up here, especially when he's not really in a battle for position. But you know what battle we have been watching, though? That battle for there's an onboard with the Casio in GTP, as we're getting close to all the traffic really for the first time in this race. Now, if you're a GTP car, you want to be passing these GT3s in the straights. It's very risky trying to pass them in the entry to a corner, especially with how fast Le Mans is.
Given how fast Le Mans is, especially with how slow some of these corners are, it's really easy for GTP drivers just to kind of flow through, follow the GT3s through, get a great exit, and just power on by. You lose less time than trying to force it too wide around the outside, because then you're both fighting tires that are going to be more upset with you than had you just been patient, and as well as the car around you that probably isn't also super thrilled that you're either forcing it wide or forcing it narrow halfway through the corner.
Ocasio puts a lap on Nate Smith. Traffic can really be tricky at this track. Take the real life race in 2011, for example, at Le Mans. it messed up 2 Audis, and they had 2 of the scariest accidents of all time at Le Mans. Take Alan McNish's flip 1 hour into the show, and then in the overnight hours, Mike Rockefeller going head-on down the Mulsanne straight in a crash that a lot of people thought was a life ender.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the more scary incidents we've seen out of Le Mans. One, we definitely, like you say, life ender. One, they were surprised to see those drivers, I think, be pretty relatively unscathed, all things considered. Has Evan Main makes the look for the lead of the race, but backs out of it.
Yeah, the GT3 lead is still getting good. We're still watching Ocasio as he weaves his way through the lap traffic. Got stuck there behind the GT3 cars, but this is the battle that all the eyes on. Big set from Hanley into Mulsanne. That is bold. Sometimes you got to take a risk just like that, Ben, and it paid off for the Aston Martin.
Don't count out Evan Main, though. He got a great exit out of the Mulsanne corner. So we'll see as they make the run down to Indianapolis. That gap already now going in the favor of Evan Main again by 7/100ths. And that'll only increase as well as Evan Main got such a good exit. And so while the pass was made, it was not one that stuck too long. Pierce Hanley already looking to make it again and lean on that door because he's seen it work once before. He sees that he could probably do it again and maybe force that into a wider line.
Hanley really thought about it there again. I tell you what, I'll give him credit for trying to make that move work. But the switcheroo for Main helps him hang on to second. That does help Voigt, though, increase the lead. It's been the biggest that we've seen it in a while here. Excuse me, Voigt the biggest we've seen it in a while. At 1 second over Evan Main, Fen.
Yeah, the Andrew Voigt now kind of excited that the two of them are battling between each other and now giving Andrew Voigt a little bit of a break, but it's not going to be one that lasts incredibly long as Andrew Voigt slower through the Porsche curves than we've seen either of the two drivers behind him over these opening laps as they work their way through lap number 6 on the track. And that's going to be
big
a
run,
really
though.
slow exit.
Beautiful exit coming out the Porsche corners. This Main trying to make a run here. Tries to look to the right, approaching the Ford chicane. Tries to dive low. Door slammed on him, though, by the leader.
Yeah, no good opportunity.
And here comes
there.
Larson. Look at this, though, Fen. It's become a fatal 4-way for the top spot. Larson is there.
Yeah, Larson, like I said earlier, really just kind of being patient, letting the lap times come back to him as he sees the 3 in front battle, and through is going to be coming Jonathan Ocasio as he works his way around traffic for the first time, leans on the door of Pierce Hanley to force that open. Talk about it not being the most successful. You see how much time that Pierce Hanley is going to lose as a result of that, as well as the slow exit out of John Ocasio.
Yeah, this is... Ooh, whoa, my! Oh, look at this, though! May trying to attack, use the faster cars and picks side by side, approaching Tetra Rouge, and somehow, some way, Voigt hangs on. And now here comes a run by Hanley on corner accident stain with Caleb Larson. Just when you thought this 4-car battle was done with, it's back, baby.
Traffic gives and traffic takes away. We saw that. Andrew Voigt having a bit of a wide lunge, but Evan Main having to left to not run off the course as they went too wide through the final corners before Tetra Rouge. Here's Hanley. Looking to make it work.
Slingshot approaching Daytona. Can't get it. Now what does Larson do, though, in his Ford Mustang?
Larson is choosing to be patient and follow in line for the moment. That may not be a patience that has an infinite supply, so we may see Caleb Larson trying to make his way onto the podium.
Big draft, though, coming from the Aston Martin. This time in Michelin. Can't make the move with Fryman going past. Larson still in 4th, trying to set it up. We won't have to deal with really loud. They'll still deal with one more prototype here at the moment. And that being Thomas Crump. And then they got a little while before Cummings comes back, who is 37 seconds back behind Crump.
Yeah, 37-second gap between Thomas Crump and Jake Cummings. That has been closing down slowly, as Jake Cummings has been getting some pretty solid lap times now that he's gotten those tires back up in temperature.
You see the Clemson driver making the move past. Oh my, that was risky. Going past Evan Main, that could have been brutal.
Yeah, I think Evan was just keeping to a line. Thomas was going to slide around the inside since he wanted to find a pathway and didn't see there was enough runoff to keep down the line he was working on. And that was the same moment Evan Main decided he wanted to get out of the way for that GTP. It's one of those things, as the slower class, they say it a lot. I think it's always one that really applies is be predictable, stick to a racing line. If you see a bunch of cars that you're a part of deviating at the wrong moment can end races. I've seen it happen. I've been a part of teams that have made those judgment calls at the wrong moment, and that has been a race over for both the car as well as a faster class GTP that gets caught up trying to be careful avoiding the GT3s.
Well, the prototype drivers always say to the GT3 drivers, whether it be a special event or in a league, run the racing line too. We will find a way around you. You look at how close this battle is for the championship here at the moment. Very interesting to see. Again, the point standings coming in GT3 was Burns by 12. Right now, with the way Bowman's running, currently 10th in class. Connor Burns is 15th. Before stops, Burns is currently up 2. Pierce Hanley coming down pit road meanwhile while we talk about that.
Yeah, Pierce Hanley, again, getting one of the pit cycles done, seeing if he can find some clean air to get around Andrew Voigt in the vacuum of pitting earlier. Well within the window for the 2-stop at this point.
Watch this race for the lead. Main still attacking on Andrew Voigt. And give credit, even with the gaps that Voigt has been able to open it up to much as a second, Main's been able to fight back at his McLaren. Looks pretty good on the longer run for right now. Meanwhile, it's Voigt trying to break the draft approaching Daytona. Here comes Evan Main, wing to wing, down the first part of the Mulsanne Straight.
See, well, these two drivers force it too wide as they get into the actual corner. Daytona chicane going to be, I think, a bit of a busy one. Andrew Voigt keeping the shallow line, forcing the defensive look out of Evan Main.
Main trying the over-under, though, but it's Voigt better in the corners. He's got his car built for combat like an Apex GP car. But what does Main do in the second part, approaching Michelin?
That gap finally starting to close between those two drivers. Slow exit out of the first chicane. I think will mean Voigt has the briefest of moments to breathe.
Voigt still hanging on for right now. What do you think of the strategy called by Pierce Hanley to go for the undercut? It's kind of like a strategy that we saw similar to what Jake Cummings was trying to do.
It feels in the same vein. I think Jake Cummings trying to avoid a little bit of lap traffic by creating a little more distance, allowing the lap traffic or the GT3 traffic that he has to work through to make its way and spread out a little bit. Evan Main trying to still look for that position. And I think Pierce Hanley knows he has the single lap pace and believes, getting into a vacuum or a space where he has a little more room to stretch the legs will net him a better run in the long term once he's gotten the pit cycle done at the end of the day. As these drivers still have probably another, I'd say 10 or so minutes. About the top of the hour is when we'll see these drivers probably come down for those that are just going to run the fuel dry in the GT3s. Somewhere in the next 5 minutes probably for the better part of our GTP field as they work their way down into the final sectors.
Going through Indianapolis and Arnage. We don't need to show this on replay, but a quick mention, we did have a spin in Tetra Rouge, Arpad Kovacs, and I believe his second accident of the night so far. On board, though, with Main as he battles for the lead. The top two, meanwhile, in GTP come down for their first stop of the day. Make it the top three.
Could be all four of them at the end of that. So everybody who hasn't pit in GTP going to be working their way through as all four of those drivers make their first pit stop of the night, about where we expected to be. 35 minutes on the fuel window.
Now this is where it's going to be interesting while we still watch the race for the lead. Where will Jake Cummings end up all this with his major undercut?
I guess a little ways ahead as a result of him having a faster fuel stop than we'll see out of the GTPs that came in after running the fuel all the way down.
Through the Ford chicane. Your top two, plus that is Cummings as well in that Cadillac. Told to let the faster car go past. Let's watch though Cummings as he makes his way past Ocasio, so he takes the major undercut. And now Jake Cummings leads the championship in GTP and the race. Ocasio exits out second, approaching the Dunlop curves. So now, what the advantage is going to be about maybe half a lap later, it's going to go to Ocasio and Christian Hill because they'll have all that grip compared to Cummings. I do, though, like this strategy risk for Cummings, trying to find a way to do something different if he wants a chance at winning the championship over Ocasio.
Yeah, has to do something different so that way make himself a little bit more viable. Saw almost everyone in GTP take tires, so they'll be warming them up this lap. So we'll see that gap open up between Jake Cummings and Jonathan Ocasio and the rest of the field a little more. But you see Christian Hill trying to get some heat into those tires as he comes down the Mulsanne straight.
Everybody trying to weave at the same time. Ocasio, though, getting risky, getting past Larson. Hill may get held up because of it. That was starting to become an interesting battle for second there, Fan. But I think that may have just gone out the door for right now. But they're still approaching the leaders, though, in the GT3 class.
I don't think it's quite done too far yet. The gap's still under a second between those two machines. So I think the time that Ocasio gained putting a GT3 behind is going to lose it as a result of having to work through more GT3 traffic.
Using Larson as a pick for right now. And Hill really got held up by the Mustang Dark Horse.
At the same time, Ocasio also getting held up by Andrew Voigt. And you have Owen Kizak amongst those drivers, a lap down at least, about to go 2 laps down once Andrew Voigt gets around. And this battle,
it's the closest battle we have on track 2.
It is at the moment. Brought together, they were a few seconds apart from each other going into the pit cycle. 5 seconds faster of total pit lane travel time for Christian Hill than Jonathan Ocasio. That's how you see this battle still now within a second after they came in about a few seconds apart from each other.
And again, we want to remind those at home that this is the real game for the GTP cars. Yes, clean air matters. The real game, though, is managing multi-class traffic efficiently. It's not about the pass here, Fan. It's about how much time you lose setting it up.
My gosh, yeah, certainly, especially with these drivers currently trying to figure out where they want to be. And Owen Kizak trying to stay out of the way, but having to end up actually in the way as a result. Multi-class traffic, the ability to get through it is going to be the thing that I think makes or breaks the battle for this championship fight in the GTP category. As I think we'll really only see these two come back into a fight with each other in the closing stages of the race once this different pit strategy plays its course. It's still about, I would say, another 40 minutes or so time.
You know, at the end of next lap, I would love to see the gap that Cummings has over Ocasio because he actually increased that lead last time by at 15 seconds.
And that's to be expected. These tires are still getting fired up for these drivers. They're just now probably really in the window. You saw them weaving down the Mulsanne straight. So we'll see if that gap stays at 15 seconds or it closes back down now that they're both back into their operating windows as the leaders of GT3 GT3
Yes.
start working their way in.
Absolutely. Voigt, Larson, and Gross all come down pit road on the limit at 37 miles an hour. This gives Maine the lead in GT3, and James Bowman is up to second, who the 2 championship contenders in GT3. After pit stops, we will update you on the battle in both divisions. Take a look at the live point standings when that comes. Gross, Roth, and Nolan Thibert pitting. There's a look at Bowman. Approaching Maine. I tell you what, Bowman's got a very fast hot rod after being involved in that first incident of the day in GT3s. He's catching up to a very fast Evan Maine, and he's got the slipstream to prove it right now, approaching Daytona.
Yeah, Evan Maine had a slow lap last lap as well. 4 seconds slower, almost 5 seconds slower than James Bowman. Jay Bowman just got to lean on the door in Daytona. Try to get the move done.
New leader, James Bowman.
That can be maintained. Evan has a fuel strategy there that he's having to work with. That is costing him a little bit of time there.
So Bowman puts the lead up, and he is starting to cook in his Wildcat Ferrari. Let's go back as well. As we watch this race for the lead still, I would like to put an eye still on that battle for second, which could be the lead once Cummings pits. Ocasio and Hill. They're separated by... Go ahead.
I would say these two, like you said, separated by 0.8 of a second at the moment. We've seen that gap fluctuate between half a second, a little over a second, back again. And I think it's one to keep an eye on to see Christian Hill pretty quick. We saw him fighting with Ocasio for the lead of the race early on. See if he has the pace and the consistency to get back up there once again. Because I think Jake Cummins would love to see these two drivers fight it out, because that will allow him to keep catching up to them when the pit cycle and that strategy works its way through here. And I would say another probably 15 or 20 minutes time for Jake Cummins when he has to come in for his first full stop.
Maine's got a run on Bowman, meanwhile, for the race lead approaching Indianapolis. Nice defense, though, by Bowman to hang on to the race lead.
Yeah, he really knows where to put that car to make it as wide as possible. We saw him desperately trying to hold on to that race lead after the lap 1 Ford chicane exit that caused pretty much pandemonium amongst the GT3 drivers early on there.
A car actually had gone off track in the gravel trap where Arnaja is, and left a little bit of dust on the asphalt. Could play a factor on some of the drivers' grip in corner exit, possibly.
Very possible, but it'll be one I think that if they aren't super careful, it'll only catch them out. Given the nature of that corner, especially at that spot, you'll likely be aiming straight to go putting the power down anyway. So ideally, it'll just be, you might hear the traction kick in for the briefest of moments as it kicks pebbles, but otherwise it shouldn't be too big of an issue for those drivers as they power down to the Porsche curves.
Here we go. Top 2. Come on to pit road, approaching the limit. Trying to keep that car as fast as you can before you approach pit road speed and get on the button at 37 miles an hour. So Hanley just about 43 seconds back. The pit stop times for Hanley was a 1:03.05. He was able to take less fuel. Same strategy going for him compared to Cummings. Voigt and Larson each with a 1:08 through their pit stop. So Hanley, with a slight advantage at the moment, is gapping about 13 seconds on Andrew Voigt.
Yeah, Andrew Voigt also setting the fastest lap. Sorry, Pierce Hanley setting the fastest lap of the GT3 category. I believe the most recent time by. So he's definitely got that car hooked together. 13 seconds now separating between those drivers, where Andrew Voigt is trying to catch up to Pierce Hanley. We'll see how that actually shapes up at the end. Once again, which like we see with Jake Cummings and the rest of the GTP field, how they end up.
I tell you what, Bowman and Maine with identical times on their stop, a 32.25 pit road. Maine was better by 0.4 of a second. That's absolutely insane how identical they were. And they enter and exit back together. Oh no, Maine with the cold tires goes around at the Dunlop corners.
Yeah. So
That's a rough break.
Tough break there. You got to be very careful with those tires. They're not up to tempo at all by the time you get through that Dunlop chicane. Be very careful on this exit here. It took a little too much, and the curbing certainly did not help that traction control at all. And he'll find his way out. Thankfully, the tire barrier looking like it absorbed a big portion of that impact. So that car probably only going to be a little bit down on that straight line speed. We see him retain the top 5 position for the moment.
Yeah. Could be in the clutches of Andrew Gross in a little bit, 1.2 seconds, but how is the damage, though, to that front bumper is what we're wondering. While it's still Jake Cummings out in front. Now, he paid on lap number 5. We could expect him maybe in about 2, maybe up to 5 laps from now.
I believe so. It'll probably be a good 3 to 5 laps for that driver. So I'm pit in about 20 to 30 minutes into the race, which means that we'll see him pit again if he goes a full fuel distance at about 30 minutes remaining.
Gross is there on Maine, has cut the gap down to a half second, so that impact definitely did some straight line damage to the McLaren. While we were watching this battle, everyone has made their pit stops. Let's go back to what I was promising earlier on. Let's take a look at the live points to see where our championship contenders are at the moment. Obviously, we know Jake Cummings is ahead of Jonathan Ocasio in the GTP category, currently up 7 points. But as you go down to GT3, Bowman is 3rd. Connor Burns is 13th. Oh boy, that is tight. Is that... Now, I'm on a mini screen at the moment. Does that say Bowman by 5 or 3?
Bowman by 3.
It's getting interesting. So you look at where Connor Burns is at the moment. So should Bowman stay put right there in 3rd? Burns currently in 13th. He's got over 30 seconds to make up on Connor Bergerson for 17th. And that's only, though, a 1-point difference. He would really need to gain either 3 spots, or he would need Ocasio, or he would need James Bowman to lose a spot to Caleb Larson. And this battle is on the line here for 3rd. This could have some championship implications, perhaps, here, Fen. Because between 3rd and 4th, that's a 3-point loss.
That is a 3-point loss. We'll have to see here in a moment. We saw the switch back between Andrew Gross and Evan Main. 2 tenths now separating. As James Bowman still trying to find a little bit of lap time into that car as the tires are starting to warm up as they get to the Porsche curves. We'll take a look at them here in a moment as this battle continues as well. Both battles really in the Porsche curves now. Caleb Larson, James Bowman just up the road.
You would know better than me, but I believe the tiebreaker is the amount of wins. And
I believe so.
Connor Burns has 3 this season. James Bowman has none.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a busy one if that's the case. We'll see here. Caleb Larson much slower in the Ford chicanes. James Bowman getting that car fired back up. That gap now closing down between these 2 drivers where Andrew Voigt is up the road.
We're watching back here with Main and Gross, and Main did not get a great exit out of Kurteman as he caught the curb on corner exit.
Yeah.
Something we should mention as well, Fan, you would know this better than me. I didn't see this posted in the announcements for today, but there have been... No, but it was the iRacing update correction. There was an iRacing update that came out today, and there were a lot of BOP changes as a result. What did you see in that update?
The changes overall are super minuscule, but super important for the kind of the sharp end of the stick that we're seeing with these drivers here. Most of the GT3 category, in fact, all of the GT3 category, as well as a good portion of the GTP category, got changes to their BOP as far as iRacing is concerned, which means that the basis that we use for here at the Sports Car League, as we see Caleb Larson have a brief moment in netcode, and a couple battles going on here, so I'll keep this brief. All of them basically small adjustments, positive or negative. So a lot of these drivers who are very familiar with these cars having to relearn if these cars change a little bit, just like we see for the likes as Christian Hill runs around the outside of Jonathan Ocasio for second in the GTP category. So it's going to be interesting to see. The downforce for GT3 in particular increased as these two are working their way into the Michelin chicane. And
nearly a bad chicane for Bowman. Larson is there within a car length. Does Larson find a way to get a slingshot here into the Mulsanne corner? Bowman driving defensively with it. Bowman forcing Larson to go the long way around as Bowman drives in deep. And that definitely helped out for the Ferrari. Larson, though, stays right on the diffuser.
Yeah, keeps right with him. Wants to see if he has an opportunity here coming into Indianapolis. The longest straight line full throttle moment here is going to be this run from Mulsanne corner into Indianapolis. So plenty of opportunity for him to reclose that distance with the draft. You see James Bowman, I think,
he's there on the wing.
Defensive look.
And again, Bowman defensive into the Indianapolis corner.
I think Caleb Larson was quite expecting the chop across the nose. You see that flash out of Caleb Larson. He's not happy with the way that that corner was introduced because James Bowman comes across at just the right moment to keep up. Just before this, in that kind of the you do a little bit of braking in these GT3s in that right-hander right before Indianapolis. You'll see it here. Takes a defensive line, makes the look. Caleb Larson stuck on the outside, then chops in right at the braking moment where you're supposed to be doing a little bit of braking, get your rotation in. And so Caleb Larson entirely kind of ends up a little discombobulated as a result.
Oh, we got one car. Sorry to interrupt you. We had actually one car go off, and that was Kovacs again in that same spot. That was in the Porsche corners. We'll look at that in just a moment. And this was actually a wild ride for the Porsche and the Porsche corners.
Another out lap for RB Kovacs. Another one that he's still trying to find.
Look at that.
There. Almost gets a roll over.
Just the change in texture from grass to gravel. Car just about caught some air. Bowman been able to increase the gap a little bit on Larson to 1.1 seconds, but we're checking the gap at the lap times between Voigt and Bowman. And Bowman, am I seeing this correctly here? Bowman gained a minute?
I think that's not quite correct. I think the last...
Well, you know what I believe it was? It was an invalid lap for Voigt. He must have had an off track.
Yeah, I believe so. It was an invalid lap from Voigt.
So, Jake Cummins, by the way, in the pits in GTP.
Oh, as is Jonathan Ocasio. So that difference in
fuel
strategy
is
going to come to a head much quicker with over 50 minutes left to go.
So Ocasio knows if he wants to win this championship, he is going to have to follow Jake Cummins' strategy. He does not believe if he goes with his same strategy, he does not believe he would win this championship. So Ocasio is taking the risk.
I think Ocasio has a little bit of damage on the front end as well. Not sure where he picked it up though.
I do have something where he did go off track. I'll take a look and see what that may have been from. There was contact with a McLaren further back, or maybe with some debris. So Ocasio did go through a gravel trap, and that was in the Michelin chicane. But I don't know if that did the front end, if that did any damage to the underbody or what. But meanwhile...
No, a lap prior to him coming into pit.
And this is a long stop, in fact, for Ocasio, so he may have a problem.
Yeah. No, he has damage on that front end. He picked it up on lap 13 as a result of it making an impact into the Corvette curves with Colin Bergeson who was still trying to work his way around. And I think a misjudgment of the braking zone for that GT3 car this is right before the end of the lap 13 in the Corvette curves. As we're gonna blitz through a lap.
So Howie's
show you.
Howie's gonna go to work here.
Yeah, he's gonna find it through. They're coming out of Arnage. We're going into the Porsche curves. Coming up here in a few corners time. They're gonna get clear the Porsche curves just after the pit entry. We'll see this incident happen. And that is what is going to cause, I think.
Caught the grass a little bit.
But it's right here.
Curb.
Into the braking zone of Porsche curves. Corvette curves. Misses. Underestimates how far that is. You'll see him make contact right about here.
Oh!
Bumps it. That's going to shoot Colin Bergeson a little bit off camber there. You'll see him end up running over. And that's what set up this battle for P2 with Christian Hill leading into that.
Great call there, fan. Great notice. There it is for the drone. And a big championship implication. Well, Kentucky may have lost one driver with a chance to win a championship. They still got Bowman. A situation where he could win. And we have a Jay Cummings incident now on the other side.
Oh, and that front end is a bit rough.
So. See what happened on corner exit. Caught too much curbing and around. He went and head on in the straightaway. And remember, there is no tire barrier there, so we're going to do more damage. The front end is gone. Jonathan Ocasio, just what he thought was out of it, has a chance to get back in this championship fight.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, an interesting one as it now becomes a battle for who can triage the most in the closing minutes, much like we see James Bowman trying to triage his chances at a victory here as Caleb Larson gets a great exit out of the Ford chicane.
So we'll have to keep an eye on the lap times that Cummings runs without the front bumper. But that's got to be major aerodynamic damage.
Certainly is. You're going to lose.
Like, you're not even going to get top speed down the Mulsanne.
Not even close. You're going to also lose, that medium speed corner, that high speed corner coming up to Porsche curves, which is right where he's about to go into. It's going to cause him a little bit of unsettled because there's nothing pushing those front tires down really at this point to keep the grip into the corner. So he's going to have to brake a little bit more and be really careful how much flip angle he applies, as that car will be way more likely to oversteer.
Meanwhile, you notice here the championship spot is on the line. If Bowman loses his position to Larson, the tiebreaker would go to Connor Burns. Bowman knows he has to get the spot back, and there he goes back up to P3. Yeah, and it should be up to 5 points, or excuse me, up to 3 points now.
Yeah, great run out of Tetra Rouge. Sees him regain that spot. Caleb Larson gonna have to figure out how to get back around. Andrew Voigt also losing a bit of time ahead of these two drivers. So that gap.
Connor Burns, by the way, went off at the track in the Porsche corners and is leaving a trail of gravel.
Should make things a little interesting.
Absolutely. Still in the same position. Here's a look at what happened. The man that was the championship leader coming on into tonight.
Great catch of the car, though, to keep it from becoming more of an incident like we saw RP Kovacs earlier on.
He actually also did it again moments ago.
As he ends up, I think, jumping to pits as a result of that damage.
Oh my! He did jump to the pits.
I think he would have been. Oh, well,
so I'm taking a look at what happened. Caught too much into the... Here we go. This is what happened. First off, he goes through the gravel. That's no issue there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'll see as he makes his way through the karting corners.
Just after the Porsche curves on the exit. Over rotates it right here.
Oh. Bang.
And then this hit here, I think, is where he decides he's punching out for the day.
So Connor Burns is going to need some help. He's going to have to hope for... Obviously, you don't want to hope for this, but if he wants to get back in this championship fight, he's going to have to hope for a James Bowman, likely an accident. He just lost a spot to Dallaire. We can tell you the other drivers behind him on the track. Arpeg Kovacs is out of the race. Owen Kizak just passed Kovacs for 14th in the class, so he's got 5 laps to make up. So he could lose another spot at most, possibly. So that would put Burns down into 14th, which would give him 16 points on the day. The gap coming in, I believe I said, was 12.
Yep.
And so he needs to hope for Bowman to finish 7th or worse in class now. Bowman currently running in 3rd, is in a very comfortable spot with 43 minutes to go.
Yeah, plenty of opportunity here. We're going to see one more pit stop out of these drivers here somewhere in the next 10 to 15 minutes. And we'll see how that impacts this battle here for these two drivers. Podium spots up for grabs for both of them. See if Andrew Voigt has the pace to keep James Bowman at bay. Caleb Larson, I think, overheating the tires a little bit, falling away from this battle between these two. We'll see if he's able to reclaim that time that he had earlier. Saw him battling with both of these drivers at one point or another.
They've been going to town the last 3 laps. Bowman gives a little kick in the shorts, entering the Dunlop curves.
Still looking to find the line to get around.
He would love to get some cushion to the championship battle. Out of Tetra Rouge, Bowman, a very good straight line corner. Got a little bit sideways though, trying to set up the pass.
He's going to be straight. A quick look as well throughout the grid. Oh, big look out of Brandon James Bowman is going to cause
Big
him
pass.
to slide ahead of Andrew Voigt.
So Bowman is up into P2.
But that is a slow exit as well to multi-class traffic. James Bowman going to have to be defensive. Andrew Voigt just coming flying down this backstretch. I wonder if that machine had a good run in that first chicane.
Voigt fighting back here on Bowman. Can he open the lead is what we are wondering. Approaching Indianapolis.
I think he has the fuel margin well and done. He's trying to find that lap time now. And I think the other two drivers around him may be still trying to play to a fuel number.
Something I want to add on here as well. I mentioned that the Cummings-Ocasio battle. We'll go back to that while we were at it. But first, this pass for second possibly by Bowman approaching Indianapolis. Oh, Voigt gets a little bit tight, catches some dust. Bowman makes the pass up to second.
Just leaned on the door, waited for the mistake, found it, and capitalized at the right moment. I think Bowman expected Voigt to kind of collapse down. Didn't have any overlap going into that corner, but Voigt, in the effort to keep the speed, overshot that apex and had to collect the car, which is how that pass gets done for the time being. But we'll see if James Bowman is able to hold on to it, as Voigt seems to be very fast when he's chasing the car.
Now, I want to go back to the prototype category here. Cummings, his lead over Ocasio was at 49 seconds. Ocasio gaining 5 seconds last lap. But here's the situation. I talked about that championship situation pre-race, but that's only as long as they both drivers finish in the top 4. Cummins is 4th, Ocasio is 5th. This is not the situation, though, Ocasio wants to be in right now. Because if Ocasio makes the pass on Cummins, he picks up 2 points. So he cuts the gap down in half. Ocasio would not be able to win the championship in a 4th, 5th situation. He would have to finish 3rd or better if he wants a crack at the championship. Between Cummings and Crump, it's 46 seconds. Ocasio and Crump, it's 1 minute and 34 seconds. So just something to keep in mind there in the GTP battle. An Ocasio pass on Cummings back far in the field would not determine the championship right there. Ocasio would have to get past one more driver.
Yeah, I think Ocasio really trying to find the lap time here. Got the car put back together. Jake Cummins, I think, really trying to nurse the car just after that pit cycle. We saw him leave well ahead of Jonathan Ocasio. That gap now closing back down, as both these drivers, I think, will need to make one last splash and dash for the end of the race based on the lap times we were seeing and where these drivers came into pit earlier on. As we keep on getting through the laps here.
Just under 40 minutes left to go here. Voigt dealing with another battle of his own, meanwhile, for third in GT3. Caleb Larson, 410 separate the two as they come out of Daytona.
Yeah, Andrew Voigt, time falling away from that driver. I get the feeling, much like I saw with Caleb Larson, lap times coming down, especially to James Bowman, finding clean air to just race his own race at this point. Keep on building the gap between himself and Connor Burns.
Larson not able to pull up to the wing just yet.
We've seen these two battle early on in the race. Now they're back into it. I wonder, especially when we get into the final set of pit stops for these drivers, where we see these drivers come out relative to Pierce Hanley. I think will be kind of the driver that will let us know when these GT3s are going to be working their way into pit lane. About 2 to 3 laps after Pierce comes in is where we're going to see the rest of this field make their way into pit lane.
Yes, one more stop is left for a majority of the field. Cummings and Ocasio both have had 2 stops. They may have to make one more. We'll just have to see if that's the case. Hunter Wise just made his final stop of the day. We'll just have to see on that.
The math states he should be good from here to the end with him stopping on this lap. And I think we're going to see Chris Hill lead our GTP drivers, into pit road for their final time this evening.
So Hill brings Fryman with him. Money stops on the line here.
I think we'll see Thomas Crump also come in. All 3 of these drivers pitting on the same lap the first time around. They also had Jonathan Ocasio with them last time, but he decided to try to see if he could play the fuel game with Jake Cummings, as well as, I think, manage triage some damage at the same time.
Thomas Crump also in. So we'll just have to see if Cummings and Ocasio stay out and for how long. While you're watching live, Larson in his Mustang. Hill exits 31.72, his stop. Fryman exits for the 31.88. Crump just wrapping up his pit stop.
Got another 5 seconds in that box. He has about the 30-second pit stop we've seen out of most of these drivers. And we'll see Jake Cummings being able to split the difference between himself and Jonathan Ocasio.
So Crump exits in 4th. We'll see how far Ocasio is back. Ocasio has cut the lead down to 45 seconds. But what is the gap, though, between Crump and Ocasio next time we cross the line? We'll have a much better idea in just a couple of moments as Crump is starting to get his car up to speed and get the tires all warmed up to temp and get it all up to pressure.
See where these drivers are as well. I think we'll see the likes of Nathaniel Fryman have a little bit of time lost in this opening lap or two to Jake Cummings.
Meanwhile, it's still Pierce Hanley, the leader in GT3 after short pitting. 2 to 3 laps before the rest of the field decided to make their stop. Still expecting a bunch of GT3s to come in a couple laps from now as well, as we're approaching a half hour left in this race.
We saw a lot of the GT3 field do about 9 to 10 laps. And so this will be the 10th lap for Pierce Hanley. I think he'll have to come in here in a lap or two.
You know, while we don't have a lot of battles on the track, watching Crump in third. Talk a lot about reliability real quick over raw pace fan. But the biggest enemy isn't really your rival. It's definitely the race itself. A bunch of common killers. Gearbox issues, sometimes your hybrid system, suspension damage for the curbs, underbody diffuser damage too at the same time. You don't win Le Mans by being the fastest. You win by being the last problem-free car.
You do indeed. It's no different, I think, in multi-class traffic on iRacing. You may not have as many technical gremlins, but you got to make sure you know where your braking markers are, especially where you have to back them up in the slow corners. We saw Nathaniel Fryman just a couple corners ago going to slide into Mulsanne corner itself, which is going to give Jake Cummings another position before he has to come in for his splash and dash.
Let's step aside, take a break here with just over a half hour remaining. Christian Hill leads GTP. Pierce Hanley, the leader in GT3. Unofficially, Jake Cummings and James Bowman lead the championships. Stay with us here. Live coverage of the Loire 100 from Circuit de la Sarre for the Collegiate Sportscar Challenge on Green Flag TV.
Looking for a college where you can learn by doing? The University of Northwestern Ohio puts the wrench in your hand and your future in motion.
I would recommend UNOH to anybody who wants to excel in this industry.
With industry connections, cutting-edge equipment, and programs in automotive, diesel, high performance, robotics, and more, this is education that works.
You will come to this school and you will leave 10 times what you were when you came here.
Apply now at unoh.edu.
You hear the horns under the grandstands of Circuit de la Sarre to the front stretch. Pierce Hanley comes in for his money stop as we welcome you back to live coverage of the Collegiate Sportscar Challenge presented by UNOH. Looking to land a career in racing? Bring your education at the university that started it all. UNOH works with some of the nation's premier race teams and gives students the hands-on experience needed to launch their careers. Turn your passion into a career at www.unoh.edu. James Bowman also makes his final stop in his Ferrari. He follows what the leader Pierce Hanley is doing. Andrew Gross also coming in. Money stop time now for GT3s.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what those pit stop times look like between these two drivers. Pierce Hanley going to have, I think, the full stop amongst these drivers. And James Bowman going to be a little bit shorter than that driver, but we'll have to see by how much, and then how much more does James Bowman still need to claw up the order, as Pierce Hanley has been largely having some good consistent lap times all on his own throughout most of this. A 13-second pit box time difference between those two drivers means that they are going to be coming out about 10 seconds apart from each other, which is down 20 from the 20-second gap that was there prior to the pit cycle.
Wanted to mention as well in the GTPs, Christian Hill, the leader, was talking about Ocasio. We now know how far he is behind. 25 seconds back on Thomas Crump. And right now behind Jake Cummings, who is currently in second, 40.5 seconds. Now Cummings in this situation, if Ocasio wants to get back in the championship race, he's got to find a way to hold off either Fryman or Crump for Ocasio to get back into this battle.
That or play, I would say, a very strong fuel save is, I think, the other big option there. I don't think it's going to be enough to simply fuel save, though, given that both these drivers came in at 50 minutes to go on lap 14. So to see how that splash and dash works in both of those drivers' favors, I think Jake Cummings can just keep that car steady outside of that and maybe only lose one spot to Nathaniel Fryman and keep up the battle with Thomas Crump. Once he's out of that pit cycle, he might have a chance to stay ahead of Jonathan Ocasio and take home the championship there.
I'm in car here with our leader and our fellow producer of many iRacing broadcasts, Christian Hill, doing a great job around this track. League owner as well, I should add as well. A fearless leader of this series.
We've seen, I think I'm going to bite my tongue until we get to the end. We'll see here in about another 28 minutes what happens for all of these drivers. Still, I think, like you said, that battle of consistency, both with yourself, with the track, in addition to all the other drivers around you, is equally as important of a battle for the race. And I think it's going to be one to see how these closing, I say battles, how the closing stages of this race work themselves out. A couple battles, I think, working themselves slowly back into a fight with each other. Like I said, Maine slowly closing down the gap he has between himself and Caleb Larson after his moment there.
Tell you what, one thing I want, one group of people I want to give credit to here tonight is race control. They have not really been a major factor in any decisions tonight compared to like some of the races we had earlier this season, like Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. They have only made a report on one wreck, and that was the lap 1 crash we had in GTs. Andrew Voigt makes his way down a pit road. At the moment, we'll see if anyone joins him. But yeah, other than that, no really issues amongst collisions.
Yeah, no big issues there. I think race control largely having a pretty quiet night, minus a couple of administrative pieces. Caleb Larson going to join Andrew Voigt there in the pit box window this time by, as these two drivers make their way in. They pitted on lap 9, so it makes sense that they're coming back in on lap 19. We'll probably see Evan Main as well as the likes of the rest of the GT3 field make their way in the next lap or so, and that should take them pretty solidly to the end of this race.
So Main currently the race leader. Once everything cycles through, we should see Pierce Hanley the leader in his Aston Martin.
James Bowman, I think, hot on the heels of Pierce Hanley in the closing stages here. See if he can make up that 7 or so second gap between himself and what will be the net race leader of Pierce Hanley.
Voigt exits in 27.4. Larson goes 25. Daniel Roth on pit road. Nolan Thibert on pit road as well.
Yeah, we're going to see a few of these drivers work their way back out. Jonathan Dallaire going to be getting his car back out off of pit road as well. Kind of in a battle of his own with the track, and to prove that he can, in fact, finish this race.
Approaching 25 minutes here in this one. Circuit de la Sarthe, obviously a track that's over 8.4 miles long, one of the longest circuits in the world. Some people could say it's the second longest track in the entire world amongst the notable tracks. Number one obviously being the Nürburgring, whether it be the Nordschleife or you combine that with the Grand Prix. But this place combines the public roads you see, like the Mulsanne, for example. This part you see on your screen, along with a public track as well. Well, it's gonna be a permanent track from the front straightaway to as well. What we don't see either, the motorcycle course as well.
The Bugatti layout, the permanent cycle of the track, whatever gets used when we're not on a couple of Le Mans weekends where they use those public roads. Nathaniel Fryman really been chasing down Jay Cummings.
Cummings in.
He's going to work his way in, try to see if he can't get his final pit stop done and dusted. Fryman, I think, having just the ability to use the front downforce that the front clip allows him to catch up about 2 seconds a lap.
Cummings still, though, in a comfortable position where he could win the championship. Gap between Crump and Ocasio, 22 seconds. Last time by, it was Ocasio better, though, by 7/10.
Curious to see if we see Ocasio come in or if he tries to stretch it until the end and where that means for the championship. As Jake Cummings going to be in the box as probably little as possible in the closing stages here. But Jonathan Ocasio is going to stay out and take over that P4 position for the time being.
It was Cummings' pitch. We're just waiting on, I think, one other GT3 driver, and that's the leader, Evan Main, and then everyone should be good to go the distance. Cummings, meanwhile, out in 25.5. His time on pit road just over a minute and 2 seconds. One of the longer stops, and that could be one of the benefits to paying late. You could actually take less fuel and have a quicker pit stop. Main to go an extra lap here. That's an interesting call by him in the McLaren. And remember, this was a driver as well that spun under the last pit stop, and it cost him a lot of time. So he's trying to gain some ground on the overcut to see if he can get some fresh tires that he can use to his advantage in the end.
Yeah, got an extra lap over a good portion of the field in the first stint. And I wonder if he's been playing the fuel cycle very well to get another lap here just to save how much fuel he has to take at the end. But that also means he has to stick to this fuel number or give himself a little bit more room in what he takes, and then kind of that nets out to about the same fuel margin if he does want to burn a little bit more.
See if something can work out for Evan, possibly, where he can finish in a good position. Remember, that spin led to him suffering some front-end damage. He's up 24 seconds on Hanley, 29 seconds to actually make it 30 seconds on James Bowman. So if I'm looking at my math here correctly, he could possibly end up back in maybe 6th once he makes his stop. Possibly if Nathaniel Roth gets past him 7th.
It depend as well, because that gap is, I think, going to put him pretty squarely. He was just behind Caleb Larson prior to the pit cycle. For everyone else, I get the feeling we'll see him pit out probably pretty close, unless he has a drastically long pit stop.
Right on board here with Main, and again, still waiting for him to make that stop.
Kind of taking a look here, trying to see what the lap times will be like out of Jake Cummings now that he's got the car a little bit repaired, and see how this fight is going to pay out for both these drivers. Because like you said, Jonathan Ocasio has to make up a position if he wants to kind of secure championship here beyond, I think, P4. Same with Jake Cummings, and especially because he's going to come in for his splash and dash as well this lap. Going to make, I think, for a pretty busy closing 20 minutes for the GTP category between these two drivers to figure out who's going to end up on top.
Should mention too, Ocasio is now on pit road.
Yes.
It's Ocasio pits. But keep an eye if Main decides to go with a much shorter stop to try and see if he can keep some track position possibly and just take enough fuel where he can make it to the end.
Up to see already running super deep in that stint.
Main going through the Porsche corners, through the karting corners now. And I would have to expect him to pit this lap, and yes, he does.
I think it'd be very unreasonable to stretch an extra lap, already going a lap longer in the second stint than he did in the first one. See where that puts him once he gets through pit lane.
We'll watch his stop, and we'll watch some other cars here on the racetrack back in GTP. Hill leading by about 10 seconds on Nate Fryman. Already down on the jack, so he's able to get the tires he needed, I believe. Boyd going through the Ford chicane, and yes, Maine takes less fuel here. A 20-second stop and comes out in the third position.
Yeah, plenty of gap as well between himself and Andrew Voigt. Going to leapfrog both Andrew Voigt and Caleb Larson.
So now that just about everybody is pitted with under 18 minutes to go, let's take a look and see how the standings look. And again, all of this is currently unofficial at the moment. You know, Cummings is in front in GTP by 2 points for right now. Actually, check that, make that. Yeah, it says 2 points, I believe, on your screen.
Yes.
So that may go up possibly. So Cummings currently the championship leader at the moment. And then you look at the GT3 standings for right now. The gap currently at 6 between Bowman and Burns. Now, Burns did lose 2 spots after he wrecked. Burns is done for the day. So it seems likely that we've got our champions in Cummings and Ocasio. We'll just have to double check and see. And again, all of this is what we're telling you. It's currently unofficial, and it will be until we get final confirmation from race control.
Yeah, it'll be, I think, a pretty calm final few moments here for the race. Gap slowly closing between Nathaniel Fryman and Christian Hill at the front end of GTP, but Nathaniel Fryman will have to make it another 8 seconds with only 16 minutes to go. And while he's running about half a second a lap faster, I don't think it's going to be enough time and laps left to really crunch it down unless Christian Hill gets some bad multi-class traffic and really ends up lifting more than is probably beneficial for him at this point.
Yeah, it's about 8.3 seconds between the top two. Cummings 42 seconds behind on Crump. Ocasio is a minute 10. In case you're wondering about that situation. Bowman looking very comfortable. We can stay in a prime spot to win the championship. We talked about it's likely going to be a 7th, maybe 8th place finish. All he would need to clinch for right now, currently about 60 to 90 seconds, separates those two spots. Approaching 15 minutes in our little Loire 100, and this has been a fun season of sports car racing. And you know, we are approaching graduation season as well. A couple weeks away from May, some of the seniors going to be able to walk the stage, and we'll get things back started once more. Down the road, of course, we went from January to April this season. We'll just have to see where season number 15 takes us, Fen.
Get the feeling it'll be a fun one all the time as we get probably into the summer months. Have a lot of our drivers home from college for the summer. For a few of those drivers, those that don't also take the summer courses and just want to keep piling away on another season of college. And even either way, there probably will be, I think, back in the sim rig one way or another.
Yeah, would have to expect the next races back in the fall once class gets back in session. Last season we were out at Watkins Glen, Road America, Indianapolis, Road Atlanta, Mugello, and Brazil at Jose Carlos Pace. Yeah, in Lagos. So Love to see some of those tracks back on the schedule once we get back to the fall, and we'll just have to see where things go from there. Our champions from last season, GTP was Sean Campbell. We did have an LMP2 class. It was Jake Cummings, and Cummings will add a GTP class to his mantelpiece. Then we had Robert Kizio Jr., the GT3 champ. So we hope the rest of those champions that haven't been with us maybe for a lot of the races this season, we hope they are doing well in their spring semester.
Guessing the fact that they probably are a little bit busy. There's a huge portion of those, especially for those that are trying to crunch to make graduation here in a month's time, though I bet they're well underway for that endeavor, but that may be why we see them less on the track this season.
Just had something interesting develop as well. Andrew Voigt has crashed in the Porsche, and there is some front bumper damage on his ride from the looks of it. And this happened, I think, a little while back.
Did.
Look at what happened to one of the past leaders of this race in GT3 and the Penn State alum. This is approaching the S's. Ooh, back end just comes out, and that's a pretty good kiss up front.
That certainly is. Keeps it out of the way of Caleb Larson, though, and gets it moving again without too much trouble or losing any more spots. 6 seconds back now from himself to Andrew Gross in that Texas A&M BMW.
Voigt drops down to 5th, but you got to give him credit. This is a guy that started 8th in the race and made his way all the way up to the front of the field. And what we saw was a phenomenal battle too for the lead in GT3 with him commanding the troops at bay.
Yeah, such a defensive run out of Andrew Voigt. Should be still pretty proud of that, to scrap it for as long as he did with the likes up at the front of the field. And I think it'll be a calm but peaceful and fantastically, I think consistency, just the name of the game for all these drivers at this closing stage, as they are now battling the track as much as themselves and each other.
Look at Pierce Hanley, the race leader. Again, he played the strategy earlier on, was running in the top 3, top 4, battling with Voigt at points for the race lead. Decided for the undercut, and that undercut has absolutely paid off for the Auburn driver.
Yeah. With these drivers, I think closing down the great undercut initially. Pierce Hanley kind of gave him some good breathing room to kind of get his own pace in, and that's what you saw him just leapfrog most of this field even after all that. Jonathan Ocasio have a brief off in Mulsanne corner, just running a little deep into the braking marker there. I think that is going to open up that gap another couple more seconds between himself and Jake Cummings.
We haven't talked with a lot of people in the chat here tonight for our season finale. Let's see what you all are talking about in here. We got Orbital that was checking in, rooting for Caleb tonight, currently running in 4th. Zach Ham rooting for Hunter Wise, currently 10th in the GT3s. Cody checking in, rooting for Andy. Not sure if it was Voigt or Gross that he's rooting for. Has been enjoying. Orbital's been enjoying the racing so far tonight. Rank Up Gamer says, if Christian wins, what do we do? He says, surely that can't be allowed. Our admin said, no curses, not today.
That's why I was biting my tongue earlier. Thought about bringing it up, and then I thought better of it.
I kind of brought it up in our little private chat that we have.
Fair.
But I won't say what was in it.
We'll talk about it if it becomes relevant in our conversation. Should everything finish as it is right now with Christian Hill?
Yes, as we approach 9 minutes left to go in this one. It's looking like it may be 2, maybe 3 to go. when Christian comes across the line. While we are at it, if you're liking what you're seeing here on Green Flag TV, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications whenever we are live. I believe when this race is done, yeah, it'll catch the ending of Beer League at Fuji, and oh my goodness, this is a phenomenal race they've got right now. It is downpouring in the virtual Japan at the moment. And Beer League, this is a series that they have. No one knows what track they're racing on. I don't think they know the car they're racing on until they join the session.
So the track is always what gets randomized. And with this new season of Beer League, they've also added in the rain of being a random factor instead of letting it be auto sorted by iRacing. So
that is awesome.
That is the new factor. Usually, the rare exception of kind of their off seasons, they will be in one car for the whole season to allow them to kind of get familiar with it. This season, they're in the Porsche 992.2 Cup car. So a little jealous I don't get to go driving with them, but fantastic, and would rather always love being in the booth here. So we'll take the battle there.
Rest of the schedule in just a moment, but we had a crash coming out of Tetra Rouge. It was Owen Kizak going around in the 79, and he suffered some rear bumper damage, and that is in a very blind area. Look at how tight this was from getting really dangerous.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a moment off track, and that grass will just kick you across the track. That rear left, they're a little upset.
But look at this. Look how stuck he's in the middle of the track. One of the GT3 cars having to go through the lawn to take evasive action.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be the likes of
hang on a second. Christian Hill is pitting with 9 minutes left to go. A 4-second lead that Christian Hill had. Could this possibly mean, do they have enough fuel to go the distance, is the question.
So, I think it's very possible, unless they've done some heavy fuel saving, that these drivers might have to do a splash and dash at the end. We'll have to see. We saw all the rest of the field come in on lap 18. Be interesting to see how long Christian Hill is going to be in the box here. 11 seconds.
Up just the splash and dash for the Porsche. So Fryman leads, Crump in second. I don't think anyone, if they pull off an upset, if Fryman or Crump pull off an upset win, that would be huge. Fryman, though, has 33 seconds to work with. They got another car crash, and it's Bowman! Bowman has crashed! The Ferrari has crashed to the number 32! And he has dropped all the way down to 10th! Under 10 minutes left to go! And Bowman, who was in a championship spot! Oh my goodness, and what a hard crash he takes!
Yeah, just snap of oversteers. He tries to catch it from a slide of understeer. Excuse me, oversteer, snap catches it back, throws it off track outside of Tetra Rouge. That tire barrier did not do much to save it. That's going to be a meatball flag from that right rear.
So Bowman would get 20 points out of this, and right now would only gain 4 points. Which means Connor Burns may have just gotten a gift.
As if our battles, whoa, big check there, and then just does not let that car settle before trying to add in input. That has got to be, I think, very heartbreaking for James Bowman in that Ferrari from University of Kentucky.
Wow. Can you believe the turn of events that we have just had in GT3?
Given what has happened in GTP for their lead of the championship, I should have been expecting last-minute craziness. But I'm still caught off guard by the way it happened, especially for James Bowman, because that looks like such a move we've not seen out of that driver a whole ton this season. To have, I wonder if just cooking the tires, trying to catch Pierce Hanley to really secure the win, and just overcommitted without really making sure that car was settled. And that is just it seems very almost weird, but I wonder if it has to do with that new update as well. I know I've seen a good handful of drivers that are main GT3 drivers talking about how these cars feel just a little different, and I wonder if that caught them out as well, or added to it, I should say.
Unbelievable. This, just when you thought the University of Kentucky had 2 chances to come home with a championship tonight, they won't, from the looks of things. Ocasio still 22 seconds behind Jake Cummings. And James Bowman with the meatball flag out of this one. The 2 championship contenders in GT3 will not finish this race.
Both.
And all odds are pointing to Connor Burns likely going to come out with the championship, but it's unofficial at the moment.
And now both Nathaniel Fryman and Thomas Crump getting an extra lap, but still have to come in at a splash.
They both bet.
1 lap remaining.
They'll go for the splash and dash. Christian Hill just coming across the start-finish line right now. And Fryman exits with an 8.5 second stop. This could get interesting into turn number 1. Fryman's got to get on the gas right now. Merges out. Christian Hill takes the race lead once again with 2.5 minutes left to go. And I believe this could be the final lap.
I believe so as well. I'll double check here, but I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Hill going to approach Pierce Hanley as well at the same time.
Let's see if the gap can be closed down at all. Only 2 seconds between these 2 drivers, so a close battle on track, especially in terms of Le Mans. Some good multi-class traffic may or may not, I think, bring this battle closer or farther apart.
Under 2 minutes left here. And the Loire 100, the championship finale. For the Collegiate Sportscar Challenge. Second part of the Mulsanne Straight. Pierce Hanley, the leader, still in GT3.
Curious as well, looking at where Thomas Crump came out ahead of Jake Cummings. And a 10-second gap there. Big shake out of Nathaniel Fryman too. Ever so slightly see it out of that rearview mirror. That gap is going to stick at around 2 seconds, just under.
Fryman still trying to catch Christian Hill, though. Both drivers looking for their first win to close out the season in a year that's been dominated in GTP by Cummings, Ocasio, Crump, and Adam Willoughby. Meanwhile, in GT3 for Pierce Hanley, the driver that is looking likely that he'll get a great finish in the championship. He'll match Connor Burns and wins the season with the only 2 winners to come out of the GT3 category. So 15 seconds left to go at Le Mans, final lap of the season.
One big opportunity for Nathaniel Fryman, closing that distance by a few tenths throughout this lap. Well, question is, will he get a good run here into the Porsche curves to finish and bring a fight to Christian Hill? Or will it go the way of Chris Hill, as he is a little slower through it at the moment? Fryman really trying to lean on those tires. They're still in the window. Neither of them took tires for that slash and dash. No reason to.
Out of the Porsche corners, into the karting corners. Final time of the season. It is the series owner, the broadcaster, the fearless leader, Christian Hill, through the Ford chicane for the final time. The Mount St. Mary's University Mountie eSports driver takes the checkered flag and wins the Loire 100.
And Nathaniel Fryman got to come home in second there. Has few drivers are swapping positions in the closing stages, but Pierce Hanley going to bring home GT3 for Auburn University.
And Hanley off the corner takes the checkered flag, win number 3 of the year. He did everything he needed to do, but it wasn't enough to win the championship. Final corner behind him is Jake Cummings, unofficially should be enough for him to win the GTP championship over Jonathan Ocasio. And meanwhile for GT3, we expect it to be Connor Burns over James Bowman, but we will get the final points in just a moment. Pierce Hanley will be very close behind both of them. But it appears to be Connor Burns taking it all in the end. But Christian Hill, the winner of tonight's Loire 100 here at Circuit de la Sarthe.
A fantastic run for Christian Hill. I think he has been having a pretty rough season otherwise, so the ability there to bring home, I think, a solid result for his alma mater, I think probably going to be one he's pretty excited about.
Hanley winning for Auburn University as well. As of right now, ETSU and Converse University may be celebrating tonight. We'll get the final points as well again in just a couple moments.
It's been, I think, such a fun and busy season. We're going to see the last of a few drivers make their way to the checkered flag. As the GT3s that were a little ways behind in this lap saw a lot of pace kind of develop from them.
I think I've got the update here. Cummings over Ocasio by 4 points. I'm sorry, by 3 points, but we'll get the race results first here before everything else. So actually I was looking at the overall, but Christian Hill the winner in GTP by 1.3 seconds on Nate Fryman. Thomas Crump finishes third, Jake Cummings fourth, and Jonathan Ocasio rounds out the top 5. Fen, GT3.
Certainly will do. Pierce Hanley got to come home a very victorious and great strategy call. Going to lead him there for Auburn University, with Evan Main going to take it home, leading just ahead of his teammate Caleb Larson for those Minnesota State University Machines. Andy Gross as well as Andrew Voigt for Texas A&M and Pennsylvania State University going to round out that top 5. Nathaniel Roth going to bring it home in 6 for Auburn, with the likes of Nate Smith, Nolan Thiebert, Hunter Wise, and Jonathan Dallaire for the top 10, as well as Colin Bergerson, Owen Kazak, Connor Burns. We get the rest of the drivers that did not start or did not finish, with the likes of Arvid Kovacs, as well as Philip Sulk, and as well as Chase Girard and Roger Primo. Not start.
We also have been running a contest for the best paint scheme this season. A big congratulations to Evan Main from Minnesota State. So big congrats to Evan on that. And anyway, back to the points here. Connor Burns is actually in the Discord text chat, wondering if he won. And we'll get everything final in just a moment, but we'll start things off by talking to your race winners here. Christian Hill taking it overall. Not bad of a way to end the season in your first win of the year. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, hold on, let me mute in race audio. I'm so happy. This is my first CIL win, like overall. I've had alumni wins, but I'm like beyond excited for this.
How did you feel about your car, and where did you feel eventually was the turning point in this race compared to the rest of your opponents?
Yeah, so I was definitely slower than Jake and Jonathan. Jonathan was a rocket, and then Jake had an awesome strategy. So I was hoping to grab a third if anything, but then Jonathan had that issue, and then when we did I forget, this is the second pit. I realized that when I came out of the pits, Jake was behind me, and I was like, oh, I think something happened. So from there, I was still a little unsure if people were fuel saving or something like that, but I was kind of holding out hope there until the very end. That last little quick pit stop, kind of confirmed it. But what was it? Who was behind me? Let's see.
Nathaniel Fryman.
Yeah, I was getting a little nervous there. He was catching up, but I was able to hold him off there.
Well, a great run for you, Christian. Who do you want to give shout outs to before we let you go?
I want to give a shout out to all of CIL, all of the admins, anyone who ever drove in CIL. I really appreciate it. You guys are kind of what makes it. Otherwise, it would just be a bunch of people setting up empty races. So definitely want to thank all of them. I want to thank anyone who's ever worked with CIL, Green Flag TV, and anyone who's ever volunteered and anything like that, especially the stewards and this current administration. And I want to thank my girlfriend for putting up with all of my racing habits and whatnot. Yeah, it's been a great time, and I'm so excited to finally have my first win in CIL, and for it to be possibly the last race that we have GTPs.
Well, congratulations. A job well done, Christian. Enjoy the summer. Well, it's back to the production booth for you, all right?
Yes, it is.
All
Thank you
right,
so much, guys.
well done, my man. Christian Hill winning in GTP. It says he was here. Okay. Discord Connect, weird for me sometimes. Let's move over to the GT3 winner. Pierce Hanley is set to talk his third win of the season, and he is with Fen.
Certainly is. Congrats on your win, Pierce Hanley. A pretty fantastic run there to end up the season at Le Mans. What was the pit strategy there going into it? I know I saw you pit early compared to the rest of the field. Talk me through that and as well as the rest of the race.
Yeah, me and my engineer were sitting there talking during the race, and Andrew Voigt and Evan Main both had much lower downforce cars than we did. So it was pretty apparent that if we didn't get some clean air, it was not going to work out for us. So I told him, let's pit as soon as possible, get out there, get a full clean run, 2 runs in a row with 0 cars in front of us, and it obviously worked out. Over 1 lap, my setup was a pretty good bit faster than Voigt's, and maybe a little bit faster than Bowman's when I had fresh tires, but definitely all strategy today.
Fantastic stuff. It definitely looked like it paid off for you in the end there pretty handily, about a 30-second gap between you and Evan and Main. Rounding out the season, coming home, I believe, pretty well in the points. Are you excited for a future season as we get back and kind of take our mid-season, or say our summer break between these, as well as what's your thoughts going into the off season for you, as well as with Auburn?
Yeah, I'm just really blessed to have been president at Auburn. I'm graduating this semester, so looking forward to start work, but I'll definitely be back next season. The only regret I had is just not racing the first 2 races, because from the point standings, it seems like if I would have won.
I think that math does check out given the consistency you had over the back half of the season. So a moment there. Any other shouts, things you want to give, the things you want to talk about before we let you get back to celebrating your win?
Yeah, I'll shout out the team. Shout out Nathan, my teammate out there. He had a great race today as well. Shout out to my engineer Cam and my advisor Andrew. But thank you guys. You guys do a great job.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we'll let you get back to celebrating your win, and congrats again on the P1 and GT3.
Yep, War Eagle.
So that was Pierce Hanley, who comes on P1.
Now, I'm going to break the fourth wall here real quick and just ask my producer, Howie, do we have any final things here yet on the championships? All right, we're trying to... I will tell you this, though, that we do have those that may be celebrating a championship in the waiting room right now. I am still waiting to see if on our website we use for scoring if everything is official. And I don't have anything yet on the standings on my end. Howie may have something different than me. Okay, so we may have something here.
Yes.
We're trying to get out. We're just getting the final words here. I was actually turning on the mic.
We have High Burrows.
I think my math here is correct, but again, we're not gonna really assume everything right now at the moment here. So we do have word. Is that true? Is that true? We have word? Alrighty. We've been told that Jay Cummings is the GTP champion, and we will bring him in right now. Jay Cummings, congratulations, man. How does this one feel? Being able to beat Jonathan in a winner-take-all situation.
Feels a little weird because of the way it happened, but happy to have still done enough to take the title. That was a really silly mistake out of me. I was just, the traction control was just going crazy. I think this is the lap that happened that you're showing right now on the broadcast. But yeah, I was really happy with the strategy that I made because I didn't quite have the pace to challenge Jonathan straight up. He had just a little extra something on me. So when I pit early to kind of not get stuck in the GT3 traffic, I was pretty happy with that. And then obviously Jonathan had his issues, so I thought, oh, it's in the bag, and I wasn't even trying to do anything dumb. It just, cold tires, they're not very nice on this car. But yeah, just drove around without a bumper for a while, and well, we still brought it home. Not the most glamorous of ways to do it, but I guess whatever it takes to, and whatever happens in the end is what matters. So yeah, happy about it.
It sounds like both of you guys had issues on the exact same lap. Just give us an idea. How tough is this track than people think it is?
I don't know. I really enjoy it. It's challenging in the GTP specifically in the low speed sections, and that's the first section of the course and the exits of the two chicanes on the Mulsanne straight, just because of how much power is trying to get put down, especially on colder tires. And every single exit you're doing, as we're about to see, is just it's not a straight exit. Like it's not a straight exit, but you're trying to go full throttle, so you're leveraging your traction controls. Cut away. We're trying to leverage your traction control settings, and you're trying to leverage your throttle control at the same time. But it's just, so those exits to those two chicanes are especially difficult. The last section of the course is pretty fun because that's where these cars shine. But otherwise, it's just go fast on the straights and then just survive in the slow speed section. So it's definitely a very unique challenge, but always a pleasure to drive. So yeah, I was not bored at all tonight, even when I was by myself, just because it's a nice track to drive. We don't get to do it very often.
Who do you want to give shout outs to?
Shout outs to you guys, of course. Long race. I hope it was interesting looking at the fights for both of the drivers' titles, and for all the work you all have done so far this season. It's been a pleasure to watch them back and to be a part of it. And thank you to Converse Esports. They're watching the night. It was a pretty big night for them to watch. Sorry, guys. I probably could have done it in a little bit more of a glamorous fashion for you guys, but we got it done. Thank you to my wife. Thanks you to Tech Sport Racing. And yeah, that's it.
All right, Jay, congratulations. You are the champion. Well done.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Jay Cummings from Converse University, the GTP champion. And we got him. Alrighty. It's official. Out of East Tennessee State University. Connor Burns, he had to watch closely for this one, but your GT3 champion. And Fen, it's all yours.
So, man, Connor Burns, congrats on being the series champion. I think probably not the way you were expecting tonight to end a little bit earlier this evening, but talk me through the back half of the season as well as how it feels to be coming home the winner of the GT3 category.
Well, the back half was definitely my worst section. I did not perform very well on any of these last couple tracks. I kind of went into today not even thinking I was going to run this track. I joined the VC with Jake and Andrew Voigt, and they convinced me to just run. And honestly, I wouldn't have won had I not qualified in the race. That right there is what got me over the hump. I think I beat James Bowman by like 4 points or something. But the later half of the season was just tough. Le Mans is by far probably my worst track on the service, so I didn't expect anything out of today, and it showed.
So with that being the chase, the first half of the season you were, I assume, very excited for as a result. What would you say is your best track? If tonight's your worst, what is the one that you were most comfortable with?
I'd probably say Daytona was probably the one I was most comfortable with. I was coming off the 24 hours, so I had a lot of practice in the Lambo. That was the only track I had actually ran the Lambo in before. So that was probably my most comfortable. Sebring was another one that was really comfortable for me. Those two were kind of probably my top two in comfort for was.
Fantastic stuff. With a season championship win under your belt, how are you going to go into kind of the off season in between these for the CIL as well as the summer leagues? And how are you going to celebrate that win with your university?
And hoping to go out and get a nice dinner at some point to celebrate with a couple of the guys. But yeah, big thanks to ETSU and just everything they've done to support me throughout this journey. For the off season and stuff, probably just do a bunch of special events, maybe push up the iRating a little bit, hoping to get to 3K. I should be able to make it pretty easily on some of these special event tracks. But for the summer league, I hope to run it. We'll see. I may have to take summer classes, so I'm not 100% sure on what's going to happen there, but definitely hoping to run it. I'm really thankful for the CIL and everything they've given me. It made a lot of friends here, so really thankful for that.
Absolutely. Any other final shout outs, thank yous that we haven't already covered, things you want to talk about before we let you get back to celebrating your championship victory?
I do want to shout out James Bowman, contrary for his crash, but we have a pretty good friendship going, so we're probably going to end up running a Global Endurance Tour 6 hour together at some point, maybe a special event. So really thankful for him. Shout out to my parents and all my family that watched throughout the season. They supported me, even though it embarrassed me horrendously. But but yeah, that's and just shout out Ben and all the CIL staff for everything they've done, and you guys, thanks for broadcasting. It's been awesome.
Absolutely happy to be here. So we'll let you get back to celebrating your victory. Congrats again, Connor Burns, on the win there, and hope you have an enjoyable offseason.
Thanks, guys.
Connor Burns, our ETSU, our GT3 champion. A reminder, all season long has been brought to you by UNOH, looking to land a career in racing. Begin your education at the university that started it all. UNOH works with some of the nation's premier race teams and gives students the hands-on experience needed to launch their careers. Turn your passion into a career at unoh.edu. Very quickly, Fennes, we got to get set to sign off. Final thoughts.
It's been a fantastic season. It's been so cool to see kind of these drivers. It's the thing I love about leagues in general. Very cool to see how much drivers develop over the course of any period of time, and to get to see these drivers also combat and battle, like we were talking with Connor Burns, the pieces that they're not as comfortable with over the course of the season, and see where the improvement is, as well as just the ability to kind of get out there, which you saw is critical for how Connor Burns ended up winning this championship. So going to be, I think, a fun off season for him. I'm excited to see where the summer series goes, as well as the rest of this.
It's been a fun season of the Collegiate Sportscar Challenge. We're so glad you could join us all season long. On behalf of the Collegiate iRacing League and all of the fine drivers and admins and partners of the series, on behalf of our broadcast partners here, Howie Burrows working in Mission Control, Fenna Chinney, my broadcast commentator, my fellow commentator here all season, Marty Scala saying so long. This broadcast has been a presentation of Green Flag TV. Congratulations to your winners tonight, Christian Hill in GTP, Pierce Hanley in GT3, and your champions, Jake Cummings in GTP and Connor Burns in GT3. So long, everyone.
Looking for a college where you can learn by doing? The University of Northwestern Ohio puts the wrench in your hand and your future in motion.
I would recommend UNOH to anybody who wants to excel in this industry.
With industry connections, cutting-edge equipment, and programs in automotive, diesel, high performance, robotics, and more, this is education that works.
You will come to this school and you will leave 10 times what you were when you came here.
Apply now at unoh.edu.